Welcome back to Sports Rehab, the place where all the sports addicts go. This is your host, V. Wallace. I'm here with my co-host, Jimmy Clark, JC, sports genius, the man in the Texas Rangers jersey that knows everything about anything associated with the world of sport. I give him a good introduction now because I'm going to tear him down a little bit later. So we got to build him up before we tear him down.
Right. That's the way we live it. You got to be nice to people before you got to be mean.
There you go. But we appreciate you joining us today on High Vibe Media Marketing Group. Hopefully you're looking at us highvibemobile.com or looking at our YouTube stream. We definitely have a good action-packed show for you today. We're going to talk a little bit of NBA playoffs, NBA news. We had some big things go down just today, Jimmy.
Yes.
And we definitely want to discuss those. We're also going to talk a little bit about the Texas Rangers. Whenever we have the master of doom and gloom here, we have to get his take on the state of the Rangers, which we know is going to be absolutely awful. He's probably ready to string Jeff Bannister up. So we'll find out how he's perceiving the Rangers today. Then we're also going to get into a little recreational conversation. Talk a little bit about the top 5 rappers of all time. I've asked Jimmy to compile a list. I've compiled a list, which ultimately means I have a correct list and Jimmy does not. And because people love lists, we're also going to talk a little bit about football and the top quarterbacks that are out there today. So I asked him to compile a list of his top 5 young quarterbacks out. I've compiled mine, and as always, what we're already expecting, mine will be right and his will be wrong. So we're going to jump right into it. We're not going to take any breaks today, people. We're going to let it go for an hour and a half. We're going to have some big fun, and hopefully you guys enjoy the show. So let's go ahead, Jimmy. Let's jump into the world of sports, starting with the NBA.
Yeah.
And let's tackle it. Do you want to talk Phil Jackson, or you want to talk Chris Paul?
Let me talk Chris Paul for a little bit.
Let's talk a little bit about Chris Paul.
All right.
So for those of you who do not know what happened today, Chris Paul was traded from the LA Clippers to the Houston Rockets for it's not quite a bag of beans though.
No.
I mean, we got some pretty decent players involved in this trade. It was Patrick Beverley, Lou Williams, Sam Decker, and a first-round pick.
Right.
So, Jimmy, go ahead and have at it. I'm going to ask you to grade the trades for each one as well. So,
okay.
So give me what you got.
Well, obviously for Houston, you're going A+ on this. I mean, you really got a haul, or you got a great player for giving up very little of any kind of haul. Now, what I did want to make sure I looked at it though from what the Clippers are getting. Mm-hmm. So in doing some math here, first off, Chris Paul, we know he has to opt in for that final year for this to go down. Patrick Beverley, Lou Williams, is it Montrezl? Is that how it's pronounced?
I think so.
Harrell and Sam Decker, plus a first-round pick. So on the surface, you're going, I'm getting 5 for 1. Well, first we have to look at the Clippers know that is falling apart very, very quickly. Blake Griffin's not coming back. Chris Paul obviously is demanding a way out. We know that
Jordan will probably be going next year.
Yes, and in the player-dominated league that is the NBA, you get to do what you want as a player. I mean, they really do hold all the cards. They get guaranteed contracts, and they can. Now we've seen it. Get used to this, folks. This will be every year. Players will pick who they play with, and they're all going to continue to try to beat the Clevelands and the Golden States of the world. So, but when you look at this now. The 4 players themselves last year for Houston provided 40 points per game, 16.3 rebounds a game, 8.7 assists, and 1.8 steals. Now,
it's pretty significant.
It's significant. So you're losing some overall production, but what you're giving up is other than Patrick Beverley. Patrick Beverley's a great defensive player.
He is. He's probably one of the top 3 defensive guards in the league.
Yes. So he pesters every other team's 1 or 2 guard.
Yes.
He's out there. He really does dominate out there. So I think that, for the most part, is going to be the best part of what the Clippers are getting out of this. But Chris Paul, 32 years old, so he's not CP3 anymore. We've talked about that.
Right.
But Chris Paul has been a top 2 point guard in the league for a significant period of time, correct?
He is a wonderful floor general, and I would definitely say top 3 point guard in the league. Just kind of depends on how you want to classify Harden. And you know, he could be more of a 2 for the majority of his career.
Sure.
And then you had Russell. So I think Russell kind of surpassed him this year. But for the majority of his career, you're absolutely correct.
Right.
He's right there.
So one of the things that we're looking at here is we know what Chris Paul is. That as you call it, the known. There's an embedded talent there that is still able to provide consistent and significant opportunity for any team he's part of. I give the Clippers probably a B+ on this. When you know that you're overhauling, you know, as you say, DeAndre Jordan is probably gone next year. So with that, you need players. Lou Williams can shoot.
Yes, he can.
Lou Williams came to Houston and thrived in that system. So you're getting 4 pieces that have done some things. I mean, when you look at that, the worst player on that was Harrell, and he still gave you 9 points a game. So these are all guys that will contribute, can contribute, and should continue to contribute as they grow with the Clippers. Now, do I think this does much for the Clippers in the way of the West? Not at all. We know how this world is now. You have to have 2 superstars on your team to be a contender. Fair statement?
At least two in this day and age.
So, and I'm going to talk more about that as we get into Phil Jackson. But here are my concerns. Chris Paul has played 1 full season in his 6 years with the Clippers. Played 1 season of 82. He had 1 of 70, and then every other season was in the low 60s. Mm-hmm. There have been injuries there.
Yes. And he's getting older.
He is getting
more injuries.
Exactly, because what are injury-prone people prone to do?
Get injured.
Get injured. So when you guys look at the rebuilding, don't get me wrong, this makes Houston a definite contender in the West. Now, does it make them the contender? Golden State's still there. But it at least gives another opportunity for a different team to create some havoc in the West. So as I look at this, Vince, I think it really does improve Houston. But before I talk about what I think the detractions are, I'm curious as to how you grade it out.
Well, this is very, very disappointing to me because I have to agree with Jimmy. First off, when it comes to Houston, I have a very simple methodology when it comes to evaluating trades, especially in the NBA, which is a player-dominated league. It's one where stars are the ones who kind of capture all the marbles. And so in the NBA, I look at it like this. Whichever team got the better player won the trade.
No doubt.
And so, in my opinion, Houston definitely won the trade. I look forward to seeing him in D'Antoni's offense. I gave them an A+ as well. Because whenever you get the better player, you usually are going to be improving your team. And if that be the case, usually you're going to be on the side of a higher grade from me. I think it also helps Houston from a few standpoints. Number one, at the end of last season in the playoffs, we saw James Harden just completely shut it down and not do anything in that final game.
Seemed exhausted.
Exhausted. Chris Paul is going to take some of the weight off of his shoulders.
Sure.
It'll also allow Chris Paul, who is an older player, not to have to bear the burden of every shot in Clipperland.
Right.
So him being able to share the rock with James Harden is going to actually assist both of those guys in probably career longevity and being able to finish each and every season when playoff time rolls around. I think that from a Houston standpoint, it does what you have to do, which is sell your fans hope. Now, surely they probably didn't pass Golden State, but I think we can honestly look at them and say they're top 3 in the West right now.
Oh, sure.
And if you're top 3 in the West and you're probably a 55 to 63 win team, then you're 1 injury away from competing for a championship, probably in the finals.
Yes.
And if you can say that about that, then this year is a successful trade for them. I think Chris Paul is going to demand more defense from James Harden because he's a good defensive player in his own right. Harden has always been able to play off the ball, so we're going to be able to see those two kind of mix it up. And they still have Eric Gordon.
Right.
You have Eric Gordon, you have James Harden, you have Chris Paul. You probably have the deepest set of guards in the league right now. So I think when you have that kind of scenario, big men are going to want to play with those guys. So I don't think it's going to be hard for them to recruit. They were still able to maintain their $8.3 million exception.
Right.
They have the max exception. I think they also have the minimum exception. So I think they're in very good shape. And if they try to trade Eric Gordon, there's no telling what kind of quality big men they may be able to get.
Right. And that, I'm glad you bring that up. That was to me, the biggest win out of all of this was how flexible they still remain to continue to build. Just right before coming to the show today, Vince, I see that they're in talks trying to figure out if Melo can come down.
And that's who I was thinking you may see in Houston. If New York decides to buy Melo out, it's quite possible that he signs with Houston to become a part of that big three.
Yeah.
And today's power is, as you said earlier, it's in the hands of today's superstars.
Yes.
It's no longer in ownership. These guys are now calling the shots. Chris Paul, pretty much by going to him and telling him, hey, I'm gonna leave after this year. He put the onus on Doc Rivers. Do something now. Get the best that you can get.
Right.
So now let's take a look at the Clippers side of things. Once again, I hate to say it, but Jimmy's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. The grade I gave the Clippers was a B+, because even though they got pennies on the dollar for Chris Paul, which is I believe,
no doubt,
they got something for Chris Paul.
Right.
Something that was definitely worth something. Patrick Beverley is only making $5.5 million. He's a quality defensive guard in the league. Lou Williams is only making $7 million.
Right.
He's a quality shooter in the league. Absolutely no problem with either one of those players. Then you get a guy like Sam Decker, who's still on his rookie deal. He's still slated to make a pretty good penny down the road, but it's down the road.
Exactly.
And so you couple that with, I'm also going to get a pick out of this, which may not be a high pick, but with the guys I attained, I may be able to trade up in the draft. We know Lou Williams, he just left the Lakers, and we got a first-round pick for him. The Lakers were able to get a first-round pick for him, so we can pretty much expect that to be about his value.
Right.
And you combine that with somebody like Decker, or you combine that with another pick, you can definitely vault yourself into the lottery if you're the Clippers. Now we're also talking salary cap space. These guys aren't expensive. We're probably getting rid of DeAndre Jordan. Blake Griffin's probably out of the door. So we're just a step away from rebuild mode, and I've got pieces to rebuild with. Prior to this move, they didn't have anything in the cupboard to trade, and they had no picks. So if I'm going to lose Chris Paul and I come back with, what did I tell you, what are they always trying to get? Hope.
Hope.
They've got hope for the future. So I also gave the Clippers a B+. I would have liked to see them come away with a legitimate starter.
Right.
Because I don't think Patrick Beverley on a championship team is a starter. I don't think Lou Williams is a starter. But they're pieces that hold value in the NBA.
Right.
And so you can flip them into more. Doc Rivers did a good job as far as getting what he could out of this particular situation. So to me, I give him a B+. Now, how I see Doc as an executive, probably not on a very, very high level.
No.
But I will tell you, in this particular situation with this particular trade, I graded him out as a B+. So I think we're lock and step on this one, man.
Yeah, and when you look at this, you're seeing this more and more in every sport because of the way contracts are structured, especially in baseball and basketball, where the moment I sign, that money's mine.
Right.
So when you, from an executive position, an ownership position, coaching position, when you can come back with something instead of just going, how are we going to fill even a roster?
Right.
Because that's a big problem with a lot of these NBA teams. Look at Oklahoma City. If they did not have Russell Westbrook, would they have won 10 games last year?
Well, the thing about Oklahoma City, look at it this way. They gave away Kevin Garnett for nothing. I mean, they got nothing in return. You lost probably, at the time, we definitely consider him top 3 in the world. You lost a top 3 player in the world and got nothing from him. I guarantee you that scared every GM in the league saying, okay, if you're opting out, then I'm going to find where I can get
I'm
for you.
I'm getting something for you.
You need to put your, I mean, if they're going to take the power back and put it into the front office, then you're going to have to put some meat on the table and say, hey, I need your signature. Right. Or this is what we're going to do.
Right.
I can remember years ago when Carmelo first left Denver, he did that, and everybody just kind of just acted crazy. Oh, Carmelo's leaving. Carmelo was doing a pretty nice guy thing, letting you know, hey, I'm getting out of here after this season's over.
Right.
Try to get the most you can. And they got a pretty decent haul for him.
Right.
Okay? So when the players do that, as fans, we really have to look at it and say, they're doing us a solid in this day and age because they don't have to. They can do what Kevin Durant did and kind of leave us a little high and dry.
Yeah. You hope that things tend to work out for the best because, again, I hate to say it, I don't want another NBA playoffs like we had this year. There was a complete lack of competitiveness because of the utter dominance of the top two teams. So hopefully this is a step in the right direction that still allows the players. There's nothing in contract world or league rules that says I as a player can't call you as a player, and we're just talking and I happen to say you should come to my team. Now, I can't, as an executive, start talking at certain times, and there's quirky rules that come into play.
Right.
But these guys talk. They're friends now. This is a different league than our fathers had because the early 80s, you would not see, there would never have been a time where Larry Bird was traded to play on the Lakers.
Right, right.
If he did, you would see Larry Bird hanging from the rafters of the Garden. That would never happen.
And you would not see Larry Bird, Isaiah Thomas, and Magic Johnson on a boat together vacationing.
Not at all. Not at all. Because these guys, there was a respect, but there was a hatred. And that's not how it is in today's NBA.
No, they're friends.
They're friends because they know I may play with you next year.
And I think the Olympics has a lot to do with that.
I agree.
Because beginning in '92, once they were able to play the professionals, these guys started deciding. I honestly believe Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron essentially came up with this plan while on the Olympic team back in, what was that, 2009, 2011? 2011?
Yeah.
I believe that they actually came up with the plan to play together then.
Yeah. No, it had to be 9. Because it was 11 when they lost to the Mavs.
Okay, so 2009, yeah.
So I do want to touch on a couple things, though, that I have concerns for Houston about.
Okay.
When it comes, just to talk about the points. I could be completely wrong. It's happened before.
Really? I think I point that out every week.
You do put two of the best guards together.
Yes. That
are both ball-dominant guards. Fair statement?
Yes.
Chris Paul has never played in a D'Antoni system.
True.
Chris Paul, for all the greatness he is a slow developing point guard from the standpoint of he lets the play, he'll dribble a lot.
He's a half-court set point guard that dribbles a lot, likes to bark orders on where people are supposed to go.
Yes.
But I would say Chris Paul is also a point guard that even in his old age, I think that's a dog that can learn new tricks.
I don't disagree. I'm just trying to point out the things that may come up because not everything's written in stone. You and I agree that this makes Houston a much better team.
Yes.
We still have to accept that James Harden, second in MVP voting, is still the dominant runner of that team.
And he will be. He will. But, that's a good point there because I believe he will concede the ball to Chris Paul's hands.
Okay.
But I still think he will be the go-to guy in most situations.
Completely agree.
Chris Paul is a superior passer, ball handler. He's a superior point guard.
Yes.
James Harden can play off the ball a lot better than you would want Chris Paul playing off the ball.
Right.
So I can see Harden being off the ball probably about 50 to 60% of the time.
Right.
And then for that other 20 to 30 that he's on the court, 10% off. For that 20 to 30, he'll probably have some ball handling responsibilities. But in D'Antoni's system, the good thing is his system loves guards.
Yes.
And you give him two of the best, it may get scary because this is what he does.
Right. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Going to be fun to watch. It was fun to watch this past year. It was fun to watch Houston this past year. It was a run and gun style of offense. And if you put Chris Paul in that offense, and I can guarantee you'll see D'Antoni on the sideline just speed it up.
Yeah.
Speed it up. We gotta go. And so it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be exciting, and it's going to put up, in my opinion, if they get a quality big man in today's NBA that can shoot, it's going to be some numbers put up in Houston, maybe like we've never seen before. It'll be Golden State-esque, to say the least.
It will. So the one thing I want any NBA fan to realize, though, is guys, get used to what you're seeing, though. There are not enough superstars to fill competitive rosters. And so if you see Minnesota doing it, I unfortunately think that what we saw out of like a Toronto this past year, where you expected with their dominant guard play that it was going to help them out, it ended up turning into nothing. And so the players are so fickle that if it doesn't work out once, they will move on immediately.
It wouldn't surprise me if LeBron was not in Cleveland in 2 years.
Oh, I'm of that mindset. I think he will be, but it won't surprise me if he's not there. So when you see the transitionary nature of players going, it's a double-edged sword, the duplicitous edge, if you will, of I want all my money, but I want the titles too.
Yes.
And that becomes difficult unless you're ultra top tier player. And so nobody has a problem understanding the fact that LeBron, KD, and Steph are going to get paid. For the rest, they've all got a couple $100 million coming to them.
That's exactly right.
And
Nike and Under Armour take care of that.
Exactly. So, but they want the titles too, and they don't have to worry about contracts anymore. They know they're going to get max deals. Think about that. LeBron still has another max deal in him.
Yes.
KD has 2, probably.
Wow. Yeah, because he's what is he, 29?
28 or 29.
28, 29. So 5 years from now, he'll be 34. He'll still command the max.
Exactly. Steph Curry's in the same boat. He's going to have 2 more max deals. And in today's world, a max deal is going to be what? 5'4", 210?
Well, they just said, I think I read today that Chris Paul is going to be getting $40 million at the age of 38.
Yes.
On his max deal.
So
$40 million.
I mean, you think about that. There's $200 to $400 million more for each of those players.
That's absolutely crazy.
That is insane. But I mean, like I said, this is the NBA. That money's only going to come down if those of you who watch the show, you understand my position with ESPN and the rights that they're willing to pay for that I think are crippling the channel itself anyway. But unless the NBA is watchable. I mean, people love watching it.
Yes.
And so I don't see those dollars going down, especially now that we're getting names and businesses on the jerseys.
I'm thinking they have to come down, though, Jimmy. I'm thinking they have to. I don't think that ESPN. There are 2 pieces to this puzzle. There are the guys that play the game, and there are the guys that talk about the guys that play the game. The guys that talk about the guys that play the game, that's the media. The media, we just saw ESPN lay off a pretty good chunk of their on-air talent. So that tells you, just to foot the bill for this side of the game, we are suffering on this side. We're going to have to develop a balance.
Right.
And that balance means those TV contracts have to come down a bit because I need people to talk about the game.
Right.
And you guys got to work with me in this. Otherwise, something's going to go wrong and it's going to blow the whole thing up.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're headed if those contracts. You remember the whole salary cap era that started, I think that was 98, the last lockout.
Yeah, 97, 98.
98.
Uh-huh.
And one of the reasons was because the money was getting too high.
Right.
And that's why they had to institute the cap.
Right.
And so I think you're going to see another regression around this time, and it's going to be because the money, once again, is getting entirely too high. Even though the teams are making money, they're valued now at billions of dollars.
Right.
The people that are starting to suffer are the guys that are reporting on the games.
Yeah, and that is every bit as big a part of the business as the game played itself.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, guys like Vince and I aren't even here telling you wonderful thoughts and ideas if that doesn't exist.
You would not have me being right and Jimmy being wrong as much as you do.
Oh, it's cute, isn't it, folks? Oh, but
okay.
You know, since talking about the NBA, I'm with you. I think the other part of this, the big news that came down today, Phil Jackson. And you and I both know that this has been coming for a while, correct?
This was overdue.
Way.
This is overdue. And I don't know how in 3 years a man with such a high reputation could drive his own reputation into the mud as badly as Phil Jackson has over the course of the last 3 years.
It's unreal.
This is crazy. I mean, we're talking 11-time champ Phil Jackson, who people at one point thought was a coaching savior. He can come in and we're going to make the playoffs, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. His name was gold in NBA circles. Today, his name is mud.
Yeah,
In 3 years, Jimmy. Explain that to me.
When you see, if you haven't been following, guys, understand there have been a number of things just even recently that have come about. But this is, as Vince says, this is long overdue and been building for 3 years. There's been, most recently, the falling asleep at draft workouts, just not even paying attention. You've got the issues with bad-mouthing ownership. James Dolan, while not necessarily the most likable guy on the planet, is still your boss. He
cuts the check.
He's the one that signs the check. You may be rich, but he's wealthy.
Right.
So, and then, of course, Phil basically prompting fans to confront James Dolan about what he's doing wrong. Hey, you don't do this from the standpoint of being in a leadership position, whether it's coaching, front office, and then look at all the catastrophes that have happened under this. The Isaiah Thomas issue, the Charles Oakley issue. These are all under his tutelage and watch. And he just scoffs going, triangle, triangle. I mean, and don't get me wrong, Phil Jackson is no one's ever going to take those skins off the wall.
Right.
When you talk greatest sport, not just NBA, greatest sports coaches of all time, Phil Jackson is in the conversation.
In the conversation for number one.
Yeah.
He's in. You have 11 rings, you're definitely in the conversation.
And
there's absolutely no doubt about it.
He is the best. To me, the thing that keeps him off of that rung, though, is the fact that he had 2 Hall of Famers on every team that he won with, pretty much.
Well,
except for when Shaq left Kobe.
Well, which coach in that tier group didn't have 2? Because we're talking Auerbach.
Let me clarify my statement then. And Auerbach, I will say the same thing. And that's a completely different era anyway, because 1, you didn't have many teams, and 2, Boston just owned everybody. When you win 8 in a row,
of his contemporaries, we're talking Pop.
Yes.
And I would say Pop had Hall of Famers to play with.
Let me clarify that statement. When you have 2 of 15 to 20 greatest of all time, don't get me wrong, Popovich has had Duncan. He had Robinson for a little bit of time.
I wouldn't even say Robinson in that 15 category,
right.
top 15 of all time.
I don't put Ginobili and I don't put Parker in that category. Both Hall of Famers. Don't disagree, but
now is Pippen in the top 15 to 20 of all time?
I hold a special place in my heart for Pippen because I truly believe Scottie Pippen is one of the 5 greatest defenders to ever play this game. I do believe that. Pippen was long. Now, he had the advantage of he could guard single guy because Jordan was the one getting double teamed. So
right.
we can argue that point at all times. But Pippen was amazing.
I agree, Pippen.
Yeah.
I thought Pippen at the time that he was playing with Jordan, personally, I graded him as the 2nd best player in the NBA.
So
during the first title run of
right.
No doubt.
So to me, Pippen's close to that. When you're that good a defender, but even more, Phil Jackson showed what it means to not evolve with the game.
The triangle offense was the most dominant offense for the better part of 20 years in the NBA.
No doubt.
When you look at the Bulls teams, when you look at what he did with the Lakers, one of the most dominant offenses of all times. Shout out to Tex Winter. Now, the problem is that the game did evolve.
Right.
And if you look at the offenses of today, the stretch 4 is what's popular.
Oh.
The triangle, and for those that don't know, I'm going to break a little bit of basketball down to you about the triangle offense. The triangle offense typically puts the center in the low post and puts the power forward in the high post.
Right.
Okay, on the opposite side. And you're always dive cutting with the guards. And so you're creating a triangle on one side of the floor, and if it's not open, then we create the triangle on the other side of the floor with a dive cut. That offense is predicated on having power forwards that can play the high post and centers that are traditional centers playing in the low post. We've all seen Cartwright on the block.
Yep.
We've all seen Dennis Rodman in that high post passing position. Well, today's offense doesn't have those type of positions.
Even close. It's nothing close.
With them. So one of the problems is that the NBA talent that's funneling in doesn't fit that offense. The offenses that are winning today are all about ball movement, and they do not fit that. They want their shooters to be able to shoot from positions 1 through 4 these days.
Right.
And so, and probably the worst thing that ever happened to Phil Jackson, I hate to say it, is Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah.
He's probably the worst thing to happen.
Right.
Prior to him, I mean, with Phil, you could go. Who is probably? He's had Paul Gasol. He's had Robert Horry. He's had who else? Dennis Rodman.
Yes.
Horace Grant.
Yeah.
So more traditional power forwards. Dirk comes into the league shooting threes, and everybody says, "I want one of those." And Dirk Nowitzki probably single-handedly changed the outlook of the triangle offense by himself.
Oh, because you can't. You also have to look at what the triangle does on defense. Your slowest players are also on the box, down low. They're the slowest to get back. I need my 4 to be able to keep up with a guy that's going to be able to stop and pop from 23 feet.
Right.
So
from 23, that's today's NBA. It's not 15. Karl Malone, that's 15 feet.
Right.
Tim Duncan, 16 feet. It's an antiquated system in today's NBA. And if you keep trying to get players to fit that system, which is what he did with Joakim Noah.
Oh, my gosh.
Trying to go out here and get a player to fit his antiquated system and paying the guy $72 million because Joakim Noah does have the skill set to run the triangle offense.
No doubt.
That's an antiquated system in today's league. And Joakim Noah, he was old.
Right.
How old was Noah when he signed?
He was 34 when he got that deal for 4 years, $72 million.
34 years old.
You know what I got when I was 34, Vince? A carton of Marlboros. My dad had said, "Hey, smoke up, Jimmy."
You're going to need this in life because it's not going to be great.
And the thing is those types of... We talk about remaining flexible with Houston and the Clippers. Those type of things, they hamstring you. They make it completely impossible for you to maneuver because the NBA is a fluid game. It's constantly evolving, and if you can't manage and massage your contract environment as the game evolves, you get left behind. The Knicks did this before with Allen Houston. Yes. Remember those days?
Yes.
I mean, the Knicks have somehow, they're in the biggest market on the planet, and they can't find a coherent team with two hands and a flashlight. It's impossible that a team with the amazing amount of money available, the amazing amount of talent that wants to be in New York, and you can't put a competitive team together.
Let me ask you this, Jimmy. Since we're talking Phil, I'm going to give you a list of some of the moves he's made.
Okay.
Tell me which one is the worst. We've already mentioned Noah. 4 years, $72 million at 34, coming off of injury.
Yeah.
I think that ranks up there. Gave away Tim Hardaway Jr. and Tyson Chandler for pretty much a bag of beans.
Got nothing for it, basically.
Got nothing. Gave Melo a no-trade clause on top of his 5-year, $124 million deal. He traded J.R. Smith and Iman Shumpert away for, catch this, Lou Amundsen, Alex Kirk, and Lance Thomas. And then the one that I think probably was the worst, he hired Derek Fisher. You give me which one of those deals you think was probably the worst one he made.
So, to me, it's the Melo deal, because Melo, in my humble opinion, has never been a player that has cared about another single soul on his team. And you've made it where he gets to choose, where you cannot get rid of him. You can't. And Carmelo Anthony is one of the greatest scorers of the basketball we've ever seen.
Yes, he is.
The guy, points go in. He is going to give you. He can drop 35 a night if he wants to. Have you ever watched Carmelo and said, outside of his freshman year at Syracuse, when he took them to a national championship, have you ever seen in a New York uniform, in Denver maybe, but in a New York uniform, that killer instinct that we will win or die? If you have, I don't remember it. It's been that long.
I think when he first went to the Knicks, there was that first playoff series he was in, and I mean he was ISOing up and taking it to the rim, but having a consistent killer instinct, I don't think I've seen it. You say since Syracuse, I'm thinking the best I ever saw Carmelo was probably in an Olympic uniform, and he's got so much talent around him that in that scenario that he doesn't have to have a killer instinct. He was just out there hitting lob jumpers and just enjoying the ride.
Right.
So killer instinct out of Carmelo, I can't tell you I've ever seen it, Jimmy. I can't tell you. I hate to say that because I like Carmelo as an offensive player.
Who doesn't?
But maybe it's because we haven't seen him in enough playoff situations where we've been able to develop that opinion of him.
And fair enough, but what do we expect our ultra-high-level superstars to do for us?
Lead us to the playoffs.
Yes. And that's been non-existent in Carmelo's career with the New York Knicks. I think the Derek Fisher situation comes in a close second. When you hire somebody that comes in and ruins you from top to bottom with not only basketball operations but handsy operations as well.
Right.
And these are known issues. And you still bring them in, you're choosing your failure at that point.
I kind of look at that as when a head coach hires an offensive coordinator. So you hired this offensive coordinator, and this offense sucks. You're responsible. Got to let you go, Jimmy.
Yeah.
I am responsible for the people that I hire. And Derek Fisher was probably one of the worst coaching hires we've seen in the NBA, period.
Ever.
Period. Ever. I mean, it was absolutely horrible. And on the floor, it was bad. And off the court, it was worse.
So bad.
You're getting into fights with other teams' players.
Right.
You're at a man's wife's house, and his kids are calling that man.
Yes.
This is utterly ridiculous. This is soap opera stuff.
Yes.
I don't know if Derek Fisher was a horrible coach on the floor. I won't go as far as calling him horrible because actually I think the record got worse after he left. But what I can tell you, when you take it all into consideration, he was a horrible hire.
Yes.
And Phil Jackson has to take that one on the chin.
Of course he does.
Phil Jackson has to take that one on the chin.
But everything about what Phil Jackson has done seems to just roll off his back because I think there's almost a mindset of, I'm Phil Jackson, look at my rings. Oh, there's one on the floor.
A drop one.
Yeah.
I only got 10 fingers.
You know, so you can't take away those kind of things. That's amazing to do, to reinvent a game. To institute an offense that works perfectly with the amazing talent that you have above and beyond what amazing talent was in the NBA already. So when you look at that, I don't ever want to knock Phil Jackson's coaching ability, but this is quite possibly the greatest example of coaches don't always make the best executive.
I think we saw that. Sometimes players don't. We've seen that with Jordan. Not too long ago in Washington. One of the things about Phil that I think no one ever knew what he was doing, and everybody questions now, what was the plan?
I don't think there is one, Vince.
I never saw a plan. We're going to tear it down and we're going to rebuild it. We're going to sign vets. I never could tell you what the plan was for the full 3 years that Phil Jackson was there.
It seemed like spackle and hope.
That's all it was.
I'm trying to fill holes here and hope that it doesn't come crumbling down.
And you tried to sell hope with Derrick Rose's crickety knees, Joakim Noah's bad back. Mm-hmm. At once upon a time, Iman Shumpert, J.R. Smith, Tyson Chandler. No real players that I look at and go, we got hope here.
Right.
And I'm a big, we talk about it all the time, I'm a big believer. If you can sell me hope as a fan, you've got me.
You've got me.
But it's like he never really had a plan. If I'm the Philadelphia Phillies right now, not Philly, I'm sorry. If I'm the Philadelphia 76ers right now, I've got hope.
Of course you do.
I may have went 3 or 4 years winning 13 games a year, but now I've got hope. I'm ecstatic of where we are from a talent perspective. If I'm the New York Knicks because there was no plan, I'm just sitting here, I am hopeless.
Yeah.
And if I'm hopeless as a fan, fire the executives. Clean it out.
Exactly.
And I'm mad at James. I know James Dolan's got money to throw around. I don't even question it. Do you realize that James Dolan could have got from underneath Phil Jackson earlier this year, but he decided instead to pick up the option on his contract for an additional 2 years and $24 million. So now I just gave away $24 million. I got it. It's no big deal.
Vince, he could sign me or you for $1 million.
And we'd have done more than Phil. I could have drunk a cup of coffee and stayed up during the guy's workout.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it. I could have done that for $1 million. So, Vince, we need you to stay up for about 2.5 hours. I got you. I got no doze all the way. This is what Red Bull is for, Phil.
Yeah. But again, and shame on us maybe because we expect the past out of the future when it was good. Phil Jackson's in his 70s.
72.
Phil Jackson, what is it that he can accomplish that he hasn't already done?
Be a good executive.
Well, but he's made the clear, conscious decision that does not matter to him.
It does not matter to him at all.
When every listener, guys, you attack anything, you have some sort of plan, because when you map out a plan, it may not ever go step by step perfectly, but you at least have fallbacks and opportunity for learning, growing, developing. When you go into, I'm going to fix this house, what tools are you going to use?
I don't know.
Everything's a hammer.
Tools?
Tools. I was just going to
think that far out.
Yeah, I didn't go that far ahead. So you're basically having to quit before you begin. And I think, as we've said, this turned into what's available. It wasn't, let's put a list to go to the grocery store. It's go to whatever store you come to first and buy whatever they have.
So this is a hardware store? You guys don't sell bread?
I guess I'm eating a hammer.
Guess I'm eating a hammer. And that's what Phil did.
That's what Phil did.
That's what Phil did. And I think firing him ultimately was the best thing for that organization. If they hire someone who has a plan, that would be the first thing that I would ask if I'm James Dolan and I'm sitting in a meeting. What is your plan? Because they have pieces.
Oh, sure.
Porzingis is a piece.
Oh.
Frank the Frenchie is a piece. I'm not going to attempt the last name. Ninta Kalina.
No, nobody knows. It's a mystery.
It's a mystery. Yeah, it's a mystery wrapped around a conundrum, and nobody's going to ever get it. But ultimately, you have some pieces.
Yes.
What are we going to do with these pieces? I think they just got a first-team All-Rookie. What's his name?
Oh, my gosh, dang it!
I'm getting old, Jimmy.
I know, I am too.
Is it Hernan Gomez?
Yes.
Willie Hernan Gomez? Does that sound right? It sounds close, right?
Yeah.
Willie Hernan Gomez. We're going to go with that until somebody says I'm wrong. And since we don't have any call-ins tonight, we're just going to say that Vince is right all night.
Right.
Okay, so, but the point
Guillermo Hernan Gomez. Guillermo.
Okay,
yes.
Not Willie. I was close.
Yes.
So what you're looking at is a team that does have pieces, but if I bring anyone in that interview, I'm asking, what is your plan?
And that's all.
Because I've been going years without one.
That's all you're asking. So, as we go forward, if you're a Knicks fan out there, one, God love you, but two, the only hope that you can develop is from the plan itself, because you can't fire all the players.
Definitely not Carmelo.
Yeah, but you have to field a team. Right. You have to put a product on the court. So from this standpoint, you're looking at a minimum of 3 years, probably.
Yeah, that's a rebuild project.
When you take Porzingis, take 3 of his amazing years out of the system, that's a hard one to swallow.
And now Porzingis is in his second year, so his rookie deal only has about 2 more on it, right?
Right.
So he's going to be out of there if you can't put something together.
And that's what I was getting at. If you can't develop a plan and be able to sell it to him, then all is lost.
All is lost. I'm with you there. I don't want to spend too much more time on it, Jimmy. Let's move into your beloved Texas Rangers.
Okay.
It's about that time.
Okay.
And, Jimmy, we had the highs and lows this week. I even felt the sense of despair watching the Rangers blow a 7-run lead. Was that Monday night?
It was Monday night.
Monday night. Monday night. As we were watching it, Jimmy and I were texting, and Jimmy, in his infinite wisdom, and I hate saying that, in his infinite wisdom, pretty much threw his hands up and said, "Yeah, this is over." We were still up at the time, about 7-4 when he said
9-4. We were 9-4.
9-4 when he said it. This is it. It's over. And I was adamant, Jimmy, you don't lose games when you're up 7 runs. We're going to win the game. Jimmy?
at that point, 11 runs later, and every pitcher we've got going out there and giving it up like a cheap prom date. I mean, those are the types of games, Vince, that I'm not saying even great teams don't have mess-ups. I'm not saying that great teams don't fall apart from time to time. But how many leads, significant leads, can we give up? Did you know that in the past 5 years, teams that have a 7-run lead in Major League Baseball win those games 224 out of 226 times?
I could believe that. This doesn't happen. I have a little bit of a gambling background.
Right.
That's why I was adamant it wasn't going to happen, because nobody tells you to stop scoring runs and nobody tells you to continue to let the other team score.
Right.
It doesn't work that way in baseball. The most astounding thing to me is that I do not believe they hit a home run in that game.
No.
I think it was all base hits, and
They had 2 doubles, and
by a million cuts, Jimmy. It's death by a million cuts. And if you were a Ranger fan, you felt each and every one of those hits until you could no longer watch it and you turned off the television,
right,
which is what I did.
Right. They had 27 at-bats with runners in scoring position, got hits on 12 of them.
It was utterly ridiculous, man.
And again, I know we've talked about this, and guys, I hate to be the doom and gloom guy. I hate it.
He doesn't. He really doesn't. He basks in the glory of doom and gloom.
But what I do struggle with is the things that give us hope are not giving us hope. Cole Hamels coming back, and I know it's his first start. I'm not saying anything, but Cole Hamels has not been great. He has not been Cole Hamels since the All-Star break of last year.
In a year.
In a year. Now, half of that's an injury. I understand, but again, I'm concerned that injuries will continue to come back. So
Cole Hamels has to figure it out, because from what I'm reading, seeing, and what my eyes are telling me, Cole Hamels, the book's out on him.
Yes.
I don't know what that book is, but there's obviously a book out on this guy, because people are not chasing his stuff.
Not at all.
They once did. He used to throw, I think the pitches outside of the strike zone, 1/3 of those pitches got swung at.
Yeah.
I think now we're looking at 1 in 5 are getting
Right.
swung at. So there's a book out here somewhere on Cole Hamels, and that means that because the scouting report is out, you've got to adapt. It's the same thing that hitters have to do at the plate.
Yes.
When you come into the league and everybody understands what you do well, they start making you do what you don't do well.
Right.
And then, of course, you've got to learn to do that well. You've got to overcome it. He's got to adapt, because the amount of walks that he's giving up, he gave up 4 walks, only got 1 strikeout. The amount of walks that he's giving up leads to the master of doom and gloom telling us that there's no hope, because Cole Hamels is not going to get it done.
So when you look at what we were all excited about, Cole Hamels coming back, Tyson Ross coming in, what an anomaly that is, because the very next night, Tyson Ross goes out and pitches a beauty.
Yes, he did.
And we get, guys, for those of you who listened last week, I had Adrian Beltre as my number 2 Ranger of all time. I will not be shocked, and it's a complete arbitrary system, but the guy is every game working his way into that number 1 spot for me. Hitting clutch home runs, hitting clutch hits. The fact that he's hitting over 300 since he's come back. He's got home runs, he's got doubles. His legs are not there, but defensively it's still there. It's the most amazing thing to me. He is somehow providing that spark that he needs to do and doing everything that he can. There is my hope. He and Elvis are doing amazing things.
Mazzara
looks wonderful. I know that in today's world of the advanced statistics, I have to accept that somehow Joey Gallo is a good hitter. It's because when he hits the ball, he crushes it.
Let's talk about that, because I'm just not sold.
I'm not either.
I know the ceiling is probably higher than the floor, and right now he's below the Mendoza line.
Mm-hmm.
But my problem is, if you ask me, that's not the player I want on my team. I really think Those type players are bad for baseball.
Right.
I think they're bad for baseball because I like the pitch-by-pitch drama. I like the guy on first. I like the hitter trying to, all the mechanics that go into the decision-making. Should we steal? Should we not? If Joey hits it, it's out of the park. Takes away some of that drama from me. I don't like those type players. I like players that get on base. I know he covers a lot of bases. I know his OPS is high. But when it's all said and done, he's too young to give up on, I know. But I've got to see some improvement. I've got to see less strikeouts. I've got to see more balls being hit in the field. I'm very upset with Joey Gallo right now, and I'm very upset with my boy Rugi because Odor has not built on the money that we gave him over the course of this past summer.
Not at all. Not at all. So tonight, Elvis, by the way, hit another home run tonight.
Oh, really? Okay,
so
what's the score now?
They just lost 5-3.
Thanks, Jimmy.
But again, here's my problem. Yu Darvish goes 6 innings. What have I said over and over and over?
He's going to give up a home run.
He's going to give up a home run. And why can't I get starting pitchers that go into the 7th and the 8th inning? Why is it just impossible for that to happen on our team?
I think that's the pitching coach, man. I think Banny and the pitching coach need to come together. I think you have to sit them down and tell them, you're going 7 tonight.
I'm
not pulling you out.
Even if it's just one time going, oh, your pitch count's 130? I'm sorry. You can wipe your tears with the $24 million that you make.
There you go.
There is nobody in our listening world that we go to work, we provide, we do everything that we can to live, hopefully, the lives and give back to those in our community. That's what we want to do. Most of us aren't here trying to change the world. We're trying to just be part of the world around us and make it a little bit better. If I go to work and my boss says, Jimmy, you got to work 8 hours today. Yeah, I'm going to give you 5.5.
You won't be working there.
You're not going to be working there much longer, right? And I'm not saying every pitcher has to go a complete game every game. I'm not saying that. But the fact that we seem to be the team where no starter can get out of the 6th inning.
Well, when you say that I'm paying you $25 million, you reserve that amount of money for players that go into the 8th.
No doubt.
That's what the $25 million pitcher is. If that's not the case, then give me Tyson Ross. Because if I'm going to give you $25 million, I need to see some production that's worth $25 million.
Right. Everybody's a great pitcher in the 1st inning. Show me what you can do in the 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Right, that 3rd time through the order.
Because if you can still mow people down through the 3rd time of the order, then you're doing something. Because we all know averages get significantly better as the game goes on.
Right.
So Darvish had 101 pitches in 6 innings tonight. So he was at about 17 pitches an inning, which is a little over what you want. You want around 13 to 14.
Exactly.
But I think it's one of those situations where you go to every one of your starters, and Doug Brocail, if he has any respect from the players at all, I'd be shocked if he does. But as a pitching coach, he has to sit them and go, like you just said, guess what? I don't care if you're at 130 pitches. The first 7 innings are yours. Because, as we've talked about, we're not catching Houston in the division.
No.
We still have a shot at the wild card, but...
One game out. We're one game out.
Right. But unless you can learn to battle through this and place your pitches, and if you can't, tell me now. You're getting paid. You can leave.
Well, the problem is we don't have any confidence in the bullpen.
At all.
Now, I do believe there's talent in the bullpen. I think that Leclerc...
Yeah.
And though he may be a cancer in the locker room, Keela,
Alvarez, I think, is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Bush, when he's placing his pitches, is incredible.
I think Matt Bush, I don't know how long the contract. Do you know how long the contract is?
He's got one more year.
He's got one more year. I think that by the time this is all said and done, Matt Bush is going to earn some pretty big money here, because he's got electric stuff. I text you all the time about Matt Bush's electric stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing to watch.
Yes, I mean, he's got movement on those pitches. He's got a slider, the fastball. I mean, the guy he has the tools to be a top-notch closer. Now, the problem with Matt Bush, and I think since 2004 he came in with San Diego, the problem with Matt Bush has always been what's upstairs.
Right.
That's what you've always worried about. And I know that he hasn't faced quality hitting a lot in his career.
Right.
A lot of that self-inflicted. The guy spent time in the slammer.
3 years.
39
months.
3 years. He spent 3 years in the slammer. That's a whole different
Yeah,
a whole different show right there as far as what he did. Let's just say he had a drinking problem. We hope he's overcome those demons. But overall, he was the number 1 pick of the draft in 2004.
Yeah.
So the guy's got talent. And when you see him pitch, there are stretches. There was a 3 strikeout against the Yankees in that 7-6 game, where the first batter that came up, 3-pitch strikeout. There was nothing he could do with Matt Bush.
No.
There was no, I mean, he was just blowing his doors off.
Yes.
And you look at it and you go, wow, that's some amazing stuff, man. That guy can be the closer. And so I really believe if he gets his head right with ball, that's what I always tell you. If he gets his head right with ball, that's Sam. I think that's Sam Perkins who initially said that in an interview one time. If he can get his head right with ball, there is nothing that this guy won't be able to accomplish from the closer role. I think that he will be quality as long as he gets his head right.
Right. Just a quick note I wanted to talk to you about, going back to Joey Gallo real quick. He was 0 for 1 tonight with 1 strikeout. Before tonight, he's had 236 at-bats, 104 strikeouts.
Wow. Well, where's Rugi? Where's Rugi in that? Do you have any numbers on Rugi?
I
don't remember. I will be honest with you. I don't remember the last time. It may have been that home run he hit. Do you know how long ago that was? How long it's been since Rugi has had a quality hit?
It's been a while.
Rugi's been an utter disappointment, and I will have to admit that I'm wrong on something. I think I said that he's going to be batting 265 by the end of the season because I thought Rugi was a 260 hitter. And usually those guys that have slow starts, they ramp up and they have a stretch where they're absolutely hot. I thought he was on the verge of it about a month or so ago. But as it turns out, this guy is he can't get his head right with ball. He can't get his head right with bat or ball.
You think about it, because he was 259 his first year, 260 or 261 his second year, 271 last year. I have no problem with that consistency. You give me that average with the pop that he gave last year.
30 home runs.
And I don't expect 30, 20. Give me 20 from that guy. I mean, that's Altuve-esque.
Yes.
205. And it's not like he walks a lot.
He doesn't walk.
He's got 12 walks on the season.
Let me put it to you like this. If Rugi was hungry, he's not walking to the McDonald's to get him something to eat.
No, he's not.
Rugi does not walk for any particular reason. I'm surprised he can make it on the baseline.
I know.
Because Rugi doesn't walk. Rugi doesn't walk. He might if he hits a home run, he'll round the bases. That's all he does. That's the only walking you're going to get out of Rugi.
It's very difficult to watch, but you get a wonderful, beautiful baseball game that was Tuesday night.
Yes.
That was a beautiful baseball game. It was what you expected from old NL teams is what you got right there. Just a pitching duel, 2 guys placing their stuff. And it's not that hitters were swinging at junk. They were missing really good pitches.
And people forget, Cleveland's a pretty good team, too.
Cleveland's a very good team. But then you come again tonight, and your number 1 guy goes out. Darvish needed tonight to be good to really be considered an all-star.
How many runs did he get tonight?
Did he give up? He gave up 3.
3? Okay.
3 earned runs. And I mean, he's going to end up, unfortunately, at a 4.1 ERA, which is not what you pay
$25 million for.
Yeah, you don't. And so
probably struck out 5 or 6.
Let's see here. Darvish had 6 strikeouts. Didn't give up a home run.
Oh, really?
Did not, but he gave up 7 hits. He's over 3 now on his ERA, and it's been, if you look for the past month and a half, it's been stepping up.
Creeping up, yes.
And like we talk about, when you get to a bullpen that has an ERA over, as a team, over 5, there's no confidence in that.
You know, one of the things that I texted you the other day, and I want to talk about this with you, go a little bit deeper into it, and I want to kind of
we got to wrap this
real
up
fast.
Yeah.
But I said, even though Darvish hasn't been what we thought he should be, I still was hopeful that we would re-sign him. I think there's no way Yu Darvish re-signs with Texas.
Not at all.
And I think the reason why is because our bullpen is crap. If I'm a starting pitcher in this league, if I give you a 3-run lead, there's a good chance you're not going to be able to hold it.
Oh, yeah.
And here in Texas, that is our reality. And so I'm not pounding up the wins. I'm not putting up the wins. I'm not making the All-Star game. All the other stuff that comes with being a winning pitcher, I am not going to get because my bullpen does not hold up their end of the bargain.
Right.
Do you think I am right or wrong by saying Yu Darvish is not signing here? Is it time to start looking at trade options?
I really do, and I know I was saying, I of course was saying this in May. I'm still saying it in June, and I'll say it in July when the All-Star break gets here. We just talked about this with the NBA. I don't know. I don't think Darvish is the type of guy. I don't think really many people are the types of players to go out and tank. I don't think you don't make more money by tanking.
That's true.
But I don't see anything impassioned. I don't see anything. I don't hear anything. Again, he never speaks to anybody that says, I want to be here. As a team, I want to know that you want to be here. And not the generic answer of, it's a great ball club, quality. I don't want that. I want to hear, I like it here. My family's here. I want to be here. When you do that, I can justify paying you because you're going to pay somebody anyway.
But that's more agent than player.
I agree. But when you look at what we can, somebody is going to give up a significant haul for you, Darvish.
$30 million. I predict $30 million a year.
Right. So think about that. So your teams that are striving for the playoffs right now, your Bostons, your Yankees, teams that have money, and they have a stable of young players. You can get a new bullpen.
You can. But can you get starting pitching? We've already determined that Cole Hamels is pretty much not what he used to be.
Right.
And then you let go of Darvish.
Right.
Now, our best starter on the staff is Tyson Ross.
AJ Griffin, probably.
AJ Griffin.
I mean, when he gets healthy again. But I'm with you.
This is what we got?
I know. This is the reality of this world. In my humble opinion, and folks, you want to talk about doom and gloom now? I feel that the window of the Rangers playoff world that we've been so accustomed to for 7 years now.
The only reason I won't say we're sellers is because I don't want to do that to Adrian Beltre.
I don't either.
I don't want him to waste his last few years with the ball club completely out of the playoffs. I'd rather see us field a competitive team where he can still hit clutch hits, and I can appreciate what he's doing on the field just like I did last night.
Vince, again, my hope is that we don't.
But it's the same argument with Dirk, too.
It is.
I don't want us to rebuild while Dirk is here because I want to see him still play competitive basketball in a playoff environment. Yeah. I want to see it. And that's my selfishness.
Right.
I know.
Right.
Probably not what's best for the team, but that's the only reason I would say I don't want to be a seller just yet. And I'm the same way when it comes to Dirk. I want to see him in playoff situations, hitting some game-winning shots because we always love the feeling of nostalgia.
Oh, it's always in the good old days.
The good old days.
Yeah.
And just give me 5 minutes of those good old days, and I'll be a happy camper. And more so than winning a title with Dirk right now, let me see him hit a couple of game-winning jump shots in the playoffs, and I get those goosebumps.
Oh.
I'll feel like we won a title.
Right.
And I know the real thing's not happening as long as Golden State's this good, but I can feel it.
I know.
So that's what I'm hoping for.
So.
Okay, let's move on to the next one.
Yes.
Okay, Rangers, not done yet, though, right?
Officially, no, but
It's hard to say. Yeah, you're bringing me over, Jimmy. You're like a magnet.
We got about a quarter of a tank left, and I don't see any signs for a gas station anywhere.
That's about it. You're right. Okay, so we had a couple of things, Jimmy. I don't know if we had have enough time to cover both of them.
Okay.
So you tell me which one you want. Do you want to go top 5 young quarterbacks right now, or would you like to get into a discussion about Tupac?
Let's
eyes on me.
Yes, let's talk about that because we're going to have tons of time for football coming up.
Tons of time for football. I'm with you.
So Vince and I both had the opportunity to see. I'm assuming you've seen the.
I'm right there with you.
Okay, I went on opening night to see All Eyes on Me. All Eyes on Me is, in my opinion, a top 3 greatest hip hop album of all time, if not number 1.
I prefer Me Against the World, but I'm right there with you. I understand what you're saying.
So, went to see this movie. Loved the NWA biopic. Thought it was amazing. It helped out tremendously that Ice Cube's kid is in it and looks exactly like him.
Yes.
But I will say this, folks, utterly disappointed in this movie. I love the story. I just... You tried to shove too many plot points and still made it a really long movie, and you didn't develop any... You left a ton of things hanging or just threw them in, assuming that everybody knew about the history. It turned itself into a really poorly written Wikipedia page.
I think you and I have the same issue with the movie. It looked like a paint-by-numbers type of movie. It was, okay, we know this happened, this happened, this happened. So in the movie, we've got to make sure we cover all of these points.
Right.
But it didn't flesh out the man himself.
No.
That's what I kind of missed from the movie. I think that Tupac was an amazing character. And when you think about it, and I talked to someone about this just yesterday, we watched the Ray movie, the Ray Charles movie.
Oh.
I think is the best biography movie of all time.
Amazing.
And that Ray Charles movie spanned like 50 years, right?
Yes.
The Tupac movie really only spanned, when you think about it, from 18, Brenda's Got a Baby, to his death. About 7 years there.
Right.
We had 2 hours and 20 minutes, and I left as though there was nothing additional given to me than what I could have picked up from news articles.
Exactly. And that's exactly how I felt. I felt like if you just read the Wikipedia page on Tupac Shakur, you're going to get the gist of the movie. I thought they did an amazing job starting down the path with the interviews, for the Unnamed magazine with Hill Harper as the, which, were based on a real scenario from Vibe. And I wanted deeper into that. I'll be honest with you, I could have dealt with 2 hours and 20 minutes of just that conversation. I really could have. It would almost have been as the autobiography of Malcolm X was nothing more than just a recapping storytelling to Alex Haley.
Right.
That to me, because the guy that played Tupac, a guy named Demetrius Shipp Jr., cannot look more like him. I mean, the guy looked like him, but the problem is you get him in the hip hop scenes and the rapping scenes. It was horrible. His mouth didn't line up anything, and that's fine. Those are nitpicky, but Tupac was amazing at his craft.
Well, the actor that played him, I'm going to ask your opinion on this then. I felt as though the actor that played him looked like him, sure enough.
Yes.
But did you feel as though he had the edge?
No.
Because Tupac was a guy who had a lot of edge to him.
There was angst about everything.
Yes. And some of the characteristics that he showed, that's what made him him. Because you look at when he talked Thug Life, or if he talked anything related to songs like Hit 'Em Up, gangster stuff, you felt that.
Oh my gosh.
You felt as though he felt it.
Right.
I didn't get the sense of that from that particular actor. I don't think he could convey that anger and, like you say, that angst as Tupac did.
And I truly think that that's probably a directorial decision. The one thing about movies is they're made to make money. You have to appeal to masses, and I'm not going to step on any... I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but you have a built-in target audience already, correct? Mm-hmm. The African-American community is going to go see this movie.
Yes.
You know that you're 1 out of 5 people in this country are African-American. So if I need the movie to make money, I got to appeal to a larger audience. And a lot of times you're going to have the white America, the Hispanic America, they're not going to be about the angst because they just knew the music. That's all they knew.
Well, I don't know, Jimmy, because from what I've read, I think a pretty big portion of his audience that went to go see the movie, I think only 50% was African American. I mean, we were the larger target market,
sure,
but there was a lot of other ethnicities that were represented. I mean, the guy is beloved.
Oh, no doubt.
In just about all communities in America this day and age. Let me ask you this as well. Tupac also had an activism side to him.
Yes.
And I'm not sure I gathered that. Did you get that?
That was what I was going to say. Is they brought out nothing about his drive behind anything. You got a little bit learning about his stepfather that was a Black Panther. Mm-hmm. But they took that as a kid, and now immediately it's Brenda's Got a Baby. And he, from what I understand, has been of the mindset of activism in the community,
Yes.
power to the people, strength in numbers, and you never understood where that came from this movie. That it didn't address it hardly at all.
Even the song Brenda's Got a Baby, I don't think people put enough significance on that song. If you go back and think about the times, the most popular type of music at the time was gangster rap.
Yes.
That's what sold. That was what was selling millions and millions of albums. And this guy doesn't come along talking about shooting imaginary people, 500 imaginary people.
Right.
He's not talking about gangsterism. He's not talking about the dope game. He's not talking about it. He's talking about a woman having a baby on the verge of suicide, throwing her child in the trash. I mean, it's totally different. Tupac brought with that one song, he ushered in, and I may be overblowing this, but he ushered in a different type of rap. Just like from Kool Moe Dee and LL Cool J, NWA ushered in the era of gangster rap and killing, and Tupac ushered in another type of rap where we were able to talk about other things, the things that were going on out in the streets.
Right.
Because this is what he talked about. He talked about what was going on in the street, and he talked about his life, his experiences, and it made, in my opinion, what hip-hop, it brought it kind of back to its original roots of, this is what we're talking about, the things that are out here, not this imaginary studio gangster stuff.
Right. It was a reality. It was a true reality.
Yes, we've seen stories related to Brenda's Got a Baby.
Yes.
We've seen these things in our communities. And so I would have liked to have seen more of how his impact on the rap game is being reflected from then until now.
Yes.
If you would have asked me about closing clip, how would you have closed that? I would have today's rappers out here talking about his influence.
Yes, because there's not a single rapper worth his salt that can't tell you that Tupac made it available for me to not have to rap about an imaginary gangster lifestyle. And I'm not saying that Eazy-E, that dude's...
He was a little gangster.
He hustled.
Yes.
But...
Spice One didn't.
Right. Right. I'm not sure Warren G was out there, but
He's from Compton.
I know, but the reality is Pac made it available for you to express and write the poetry of your life, and do it with a tonality and a structure and a pace and with an angst, because you took that and channeled it into something that helped people understand what you've been through, and not doing it with a gun.
And another piece that I thought that they missed is his drive. You got to remember, this is 7 years, and people look at Pac and they say, around the way, Pac was a party, loved to party, loved to have fun, this and that. Pac was a worker.
Yes.
This dude, when you think about it, he did over 375 songs in that 7-year period. You got rappers today that have 15-year careers that haven't had that aren't even close to half of that.
Right.
This guy was constantly writing, constantly making music. We've been able to enjoy it for several years after his death. Right. And you're talking about such a short period of time to have done so much. His legacy is so broad. It's one of those things where I know it's hard to get in a 2-hour movie.
No doubt.
But we've been able to do it with Malcolm X, with Denzel Washington. We've been able to do it with Ray Charles. We've been able to do it before. So I did leave a little disappointed that we weren't able to touch on some of the broader things that made Pac Pac.
Like I said, that's why I liked that they went down the road of the interview, and then they just kept bouncing away from it, and then telling, like you said, the paint-by-number story of, well, then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and people come in and out, and you're going, well, what happened to this situation, and why? Making it, prime example, when he gets shot, and he just somehow in the glare of passing out, he sees Biggie, and immediately turns that into, well, I got to shoot this guy. There has to be more than that, other than I saw you in the room. I wanted him to develop those kind of things. What was the build up before Hit 'Em Up?
Well, that song "I Shot You."
I know, and I got that, and they even touched on that. But I'm talking about, I would have loved to have heard the conversations, because they were friends. They were friends. I would have loved to have heard a development of the conversations of how it all deteriorated, and then how Biggie thinks at any point, if I Shot You's not about that, how you can release a song like that.
That was that was, even at the time, because I remember when it came out, even at the time when he came out with I Shot You, everybody knew there was going to be drama from that song the moment you heard it. I'm sure Puff, who's in the rap game, he's producing, let me tell you how this is going to be received.
Yeah.
That should have been the conversation. So you can't convince me that they didn't know.
Right.
Because everybody knew the minute they heard it.
Oh, I know.
You were around during that time, and there's this East-West feud. You knew that was going to be straight up just a violation.
Yes.
And they put it out anyway.
And then, of course, the self-fulfilling prophecy of his follow-up and Hit 'Em Up. You shot me, but you punks didn't finish. Now you're about to feel the wrath of a menace.
There you go. There you go. Now, how does Pac rank on your list of all-time rappers, Jimmy?
I'm glad you asked that question.
You told me to ask you, Jimmy.
I know. He is number one for me.
He's number one?
He is number one.
Okay. Give me your top five. I'd love to hear.
Okay.
Now, stop the press. I've got to hype this up.
Okay.
I've got to hype this up a bit, y'all. Jimmy Clark, hip-hop expert, knower of more rap songs than any other white guy on the planet. Jimmy Clark, who grew up reading Source magazine. Jimmy Clark from the M-Dub,
yes.
Mineral Wells, everybody represent, is about to give you his top 5 hip-hop artists of all time. Stop the press. Everybody take a time out. We're going to give Jimmy the floor.
All right. So, and I'll give you, I even wrote my rationales down. I wanted there to be some substance here. So, Pocket number 1. In my opinion, one of the greatest poets that we've ever seen. The poets of life. I put him up there with Dylan and Springsteen musically because they were able to write about a life.
That's Bob Dylan for you guys.
Bob Dylan, yeah. Sorry, Bob Dylan and Bruce Springsteen. They were able to put pen to paper and then musically annotate what their life was like coming from wherever it was and wherever they were going to and help you understand it. The angst that you talk about, you felt that I don't think I truly can listen to Tupac's music and go, this stuff happened to this guy. There's not production value here, there's life value. So that's why, to me, Pac reinvented the rap game because he made it available to talk about the realities of his world. And at number 2, right below, I do put Biggie.
Flag on the play.
Oh.
Well, we'll go with it.
Okay.
Give me your reasoning.
Biggie, in my mind, the hustler youth lifestyle became a mythology. You could read about it and understand it from what he did, and about both the drug and the hip hop game. We talked about this last week. He talked about how, for the most part, as a black youth in the streets, there were very few ways out of that, and everything in life was on top of you, keeping you in that. And you have 3 things. You can sling crack rock, or you got a wicked jump shot, or you can rap about all of it. And Biggie's full. Now, I think he did some cardinal sins there at the end with just some of the happy hip hop. I mean, his early, like anybody, their early stuff is what truly makes them. Then they have to become commercial, and they have to produce things that will sell albums. So,
okay, I'm going to take a pause on your list real quick. Okay, I'm going to address your top 2. Okay, number 1, Pac, I completely agree with you.
Okay.
And I agree with you, and he's my number 1 as well. I agree with you primarily because of the versatility that Tupac brought to it. Tupac could rap about the thug life. Mm-hmm. Tupac could rap about Brenda's Got a Baby.
Yes.
Tupac could rap about deep stuff. You listen to Shed So Many Tears.
Yes.
Everything that rap embodies, this man could rap about. There was no limit. That's why I consider him a genius when it comes to the pen and paper and the rap game. The amount of stuff he put out that was all so good.
Yes.
Because volume does count when you start to talk about the greatest of all time. I think Pac was absolutely marvelous. I think that he could catch the beat of the street like no other artist has been able to do since he passed away. Phenomenal. Number 2, the Biggie. like I just said, the volume of your work matters to me. Biggie had 2 albums. In my opinion, 2 albums don't cut it.
Okay.
He has to be ranked down because I don't know how, if he would have had a 10-year career, we'll give Tupac, even though it's 7 years, we'll give Pac a lengthy career because he was releasing stuff 5 years, 10 years after his death.
Right.
I don't know if Biggie would have had that type of longevity because I didn't see it. And you know my philosophy. If I didn't see it,
right,
seeing is believing to me.
Right.
And so Biggie could have been 50 Cent. He could have released 2 albums and they both sounded exactly alike, and then after that everybody was tired of hearing it.
Sure. Fair enough. Okay.
So I don't know where, I know from a lyrical standpoint, he was a great lyricist. I think people love Biggie. He had New York backing him. But when you just look at the body of work, it's just too small of a sample size.
Okay. Fair enough.
For me to rank him ahead of, people like LL Cool J, who had several albums and went from 80s to 90s.
Sure.
For certain people who spanned, several years,
right,
it's hard for me to rank him ahead of those type people.
And that's why I don't have Nas rated. Because to me, Nas peaked with Illmatic.
Yes.
And as amazing at an album as Illmatic is, he peaked with that.
Yes.
So
Stillmatic was pretty good too.
Don't disagree, but I'm just
Illmatic.
He never, and it was his first album.
Yes.
So, but number 3, which almost was my number 2, Rakim.
Pioneer. Give me your reasoning.
Okay. Who created a better mix of vocal tone with pacing and structure? You can sing along with Rakim
to this day,
and it's prime example. Part of it is how good do I feel when I first hear the music come on, because the moment I hear thinking of a master plan,
the sweat inside
my hand. When I hear that, it's kind of like those movies. If you've made somewhat of plans for going out on a night, but remember the Titans is on, so plans just got canceled. Rakim comes on, I will stay in the car. I have to finish this song. And then I may be late for work because now I'm going to Spotify and I'm putting on, all of Eric B. for President.
Yes.
So, again, sample. He didn't have a ton of albums.
No.
But, again, a pioneer of how to make your voice work for you. And the
lyrics were tight.
Lyrics were tight. And he just flat out, he rapped about rapping.
Yes.
He was like, this is how the hip-hop game is. Oh, and he didn't have to dream about getting paid. It would, and when you pair him with Eric B., those beats were perfect.
Don't you miss the old DJ?
Oh my gosh!
Don't you miss?
I miss the old DJ. I miss the old hype man. Give me Too Big. Yeah, Too Big MC.
Hammer. Don't hurt him.
Yeah.
You're old, Jimmy.
Oh my gosh! But I think he painted the picture of the hip hop game better than anybody. And it wasn't and maybe I'm wrong because it's been a while since I've gone back and listened to the library of Rakim, and I need to do that. If you're going to be good at this, you got to stay on top of the older stuff as well. But I think that he painted a picture of what it was like to be in the hip hop game better than anybody.
Okay.
So
okay, Rakim. All right. Number 4.
Number 4, I got Eminem.
You would. No, go ahead. I actually am a fan of Eminem too.
Lyrics.
Oh, can't argue.
Are you kidding me? And the ability to spit like DJ Quick or Mystical, but also to tell the story like Pac. I mean, that, because he came up in this as well. I mean, it was a different kind of streets, but he came up in it as well.
And I'll say any battle rap that goes down, I'd probably take Eminem over everybody.
Yes.
Eminem was so good, he made Jay-Z look bad guest spotting on Jay-Z's own album.
Yep.
Yeah. And the dude has flow. Everybody can give it up to Eminem. You just got to say, hey, he puts words together better than anybody else.
Right.
I mean, he's amazing. He's amazing. I'll give you that.
Okay. Because I put on here his anger, his passion, and his tonality. The uniqueness of his voice to go subtle, but then also, go Nicki Minaj on you for a little bit. But
go Nicki Minaj.
And then finally, I do have Jay-Z, and I hated to do this. Jay-Z is another guy I think that was really basically 2 or 3 albums.
But the first 3 albums. Now, I will give you Jay-Z, and this is my take on Jay-Z, because he's somewhere on my list, too. Jay-Z's first 3 albums were top-notch albums.
Amazing.
He did it year. He was money. Jay-Z now, still living on the coattails of what he did.
Oh, yeah. He became pop-friendly.
Yes.
He became pop-friendly. And,
yes.
and don't get me wrong, there's still a place for that. I mean...
and even the Blueprint. I take that back. So top 3, and then he had the Blueprint. Then he had the Blueprint 2. So in the 90s, you couldn't touch Jay-Z.
Right.
You couldn't touch Jay-Z. I mean, he was. When I say you couldn't touch him, I mean you could put in Jay-Z albums probably through 2002. Whichever one you picked, you could listen to the whole album.
Yes.
I mean, he was that good. And I grade him based on what he did then, more so than what he
and
does.
that's what I did as well. And to me, his ability to create the hooks.
Oh, yeah.
His hooks. I mean, they call it that for a reason. So, anyway, that's my top 5. And because I also considered LL. I loved Kool Moe Dee, and I loved Big Daddy Kane.
Big Daddy Kane.
Yeah.
Big Daddy Kane dropped about 4 albums in a row himself.
Yes.
That were all tight. I bought Big Daddy Kane albums.
Right. I mean, here's a perfect description of me. I'm 5'9", white and lovely. You know, I mean, it's... those guys... it's funny. One of my all-time favorite hip-hop songs is Brand New Flavor by Craig Mack. Mm-hmm. And then I thought to myself, what else has he got? Nothing.
Right.
He has nothing.
Brand new flavor in your ears.
And he did 9 different versions of it.
Yes.
Anyway, but that's my top 5, man.
Okay, so mine will go fairly quick because we got a lot of the same people on ours. My top 5 is Pac for the same reasons that you stated. My second one is Ice Cube.
Okay.
And I have Ice Cube because I also give him credit for the writing he did on NWA stuff.
Thought about that as well.
And Ice Cube could also paint a picture. If you listen to Once Upon a Time in the Projects, on that whole album, I knew this girl named Carla, knew her from the back seat of my homies in Pop. I mean, Ice Cube could paint a picture and he could tell a story with the best of it.
Yes.
He was great from a lyrical standpoint, in my opinion. I have Cube at number 2 because when you give him credit for that NWA stuff, I think it just vaults him.
It does. It does.
He kept us banging from about 87 to about 97. And one of the greatest rap tunes of all time, Today Was a Good Day.
Oh. I've never messed around and gotten a triple-double, I'll tell you.
I did. I can relate to Cube. So, third on my list is Scarface.
Oh.
I'm a big Scarface fan. Like you listen to Rakim, I can put on Damn It Feels Good to Be a Gangster. And I feel gangster. So Scarface for me put out several albums. The Fix, and that wasn't even that long ago. It might be longer than what I'm thinking in my head, but it wasn't that long. I mean, the whole album. You can play the whole album.
Oh, it's amazing.
And I was buying Scarface albums during this time. So I always think about on my list, who was I going to spend the money for?
Right.
And Scarface was definitely one of those people that I was going to be there the day his album dropped. So that's how he got on my list. Next up is Mystical.
God, incredible.
I loved Mystical back in the day.
Yes.
I saw Mystical in a gymnasium in Ruston, Louisiana before he hit it big, doing Michael Jackson across the stage. Yes, I did.
Oh.
And Mystical was bad. You know, when he took it bad like Michael, and he would stop the show and he'd do the Michael Jackson.
That is awesome.
And he was great doing it. He could do a Michael Jackson impersonation. People don't know this. But Mystical was a phenomenal rapper that I went out and bought his stuff first time it dropped.
Right.
And for those that indulge, he had some of the best weed smoking songs.
Right.
Even though I don't, he had some of the best weed smoking songs you'd ever want to hear. People that do still play them.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Number 5 on my list is Jay-Z. And for the same reasons that we mentioned, there was a period where Jay-Z was money. I mean, everything he put out was gold. Right. Utterly appreciated it. And I do have some honorable mentions as well. M is on my honorable mention list because I think Eminem is probably, he's got to be in the conversation for the greatest lyricist out there.
Right.
I have Biggie on my list. I have him on there strictly because the stuff that he did put out was extremely good. I mean, we're talking perfect 10 stuff.
Right.
But it's just not the broad array of the people that we have on our list.
I hear you.
So it's hard for me to put him up there and give him that. Next on my list, I have Kanye. I think Kanye is a genius.
We talked about this before when we used to work together. You know, Kanye, again, first 3 albums. Can you get better?
The guy's a genius.
The guy's a genius.
And And I mean, he's got a big ego. I don't grade him down for that.
No.
He told us.
Right.
I've got a big ego. He told us, so we can't get mad at him for his ego.
This is what's fun about these conversations. And one thing we've also talked about, I'm amazed that we as guys do this all the time. I don't know that girls sit around talking about their favorite hip-hop albums.
Do girls sit around talking about their favorite hip-hop albums? Come on. You do? You do?
But, because there's no right or wrong answer. There's my right answers and there's your wrong answers, but you know what I'm saying. But like for me, Eric Sermon.
Oh, yeah.
Loved Eric Sermon.
I loved Eric Sermon, yes.
And, and I hope we do have the conversation about hip-hop groups.
Because EPMD would go
EPMD is going on that list, yes.
Yes, I'm with you there. I don't know if they're top 5.
But it's great. I mean, again,
yes. It's all
when EPMD dropped an album, you were going to get it.
And last one I had on my list was Too Short.
Oh.
I know people today think Too Short's rhymes were like elementary school education compared to some of the guys we have on the list. But when it comes to beats and when it comes to finding the rhythm and staying, I mean, I love Tupac, Too Short's old stuff.
Shoot ya.
I was buying it. I loved him. She's a straggler, struggler, straight salami smuggler. I loved him and Cube going at it. I bought
the ghetto
up until when he put out the album 10. Because he put out an album called 10. I went back and looked. I have all 10 albums.
Right.
So I have to be this great Too Short fan. I had to love Too Short. So I can remember in college going to get it when soon as it dropped. So Too Short goes on my honorable mention list. He was part of my childhood. These are the songs that shaped my childhood. Right. So I absolutely love them. Now we appreciate you guys tuning in with us today. Jimmy, any last takes?
No, man. It's going to be interesting as the trade deadline comes about on the NBA. What we see, I say trade deadline. I'm sorry, the moratorium that comes off here soon, and you're going to see a lot of movement. As we talked about, I think this is a new NBA, and everybody's going to be fighting to be a super team. There's just not enough superstars to do that, though.
We're just going to have to wait until they call Jimmy Clark out of retirement.
Because I'm done slinging crack rock.
There you go. Jumper after jumper. It's coming, baby. It's coming from the wing. Threes.
This is a fun show, though. This is a fun show tonight. I enjoyed this, so.
Absolutely. We want you guys to tune back into us. This is High Vibe Media and Marketing Group, and later this week on Thursday night from 9 to 11 at BH Lounge, live from BH Lounge, we have A Man's Point of View. Those guys are always getting into deep topics. What's the topic this week?
What a man really wants.
What a man really wants. Wow.
What, sandwich and a TV?
Well, a good game.
Sports magazine.
Yeah, we pretty much covered that one for you. We could save you 2 hours with that one.
Yeah.
No, but tune in. I'm sure you ladies do want to know what a man really wants. So that's going to be A Man's Point of View, and we've got some great men on the panel that will discuss that. This Sunday, we're not doing Coach's Corner because Coach Moore, he's involved in the Junior Olympics, and his team is going to be up for gold medals. So he's going to go an extra week with those guys. Hopefully, we wish our boys the best in Canada. But from 6 to 8 on Sunday, we will have the Suave Radio Show. As you know, that's always a good time. They are absolutely hilarious. Please tune in if you want to enjoy yourself, if you want to smile, crack some jokes. Those guys always have it going on. Then coming back on Tuesday from 6 to 8.
Not this week.
Not this week. July start. Okay.
July
that's the holiday. So Black Liberty is not this Tuesday. Okay. So Vibe with Me, our teen show, is going to take a week off. Black of the Berry, which follows right behind it, is also taking a week off. That's going to be to the holiday. We don't want to interrupt you guys' barbecue plans. But we do ask you to come back next Tuesday because the following Tuesday, Vibe with Me will be back. The Black of the Berry will be back. And then that Wednesday, Sports Rehab will also be back. And also on Wednesday, we have the Teen Scene. That's our Teen Summit. Lotus, would you like to give us a little bit more about the Teen Scene?
The Teen Scene is a teen summit. The Teen Summit that we will be hosting at Brick House Lounge in Arlington, Texas. And we're just opening the doors to our youth and teens in hopes of giving them a platform to discuss the issues that are important to them today. And we have topics like bullying and drug abuse and teenage dating and pregnancy and what to do after high school, all those different topics being raised in two different homes. And so a lot of things that teens need to have a platform to really express what's really going on the inside. So that's what we'll be doing at Brick House Lounge on Wednesdays.
Well, that sounds like an extremely valuable show. We encourage you guys to tune in for that one as well. And then finally, at Brick House Lounge this Friday from 6 to 8, we're going to be meeting and greeting with our hosts here at High Vibe Media Marketing Group. So I'm going to be there. Jimmy, you going to try to get out?
I'll be there.
Jimmy's coming out to Brick House Lounge, and we're going to have great discussions such as why Vince is always right, Jimmy's always wrong.
Seems like a short discussion.
Oh no, that one's gonna probably take the full 2 hours. No, but we will have this conversation. You guys come out. If you have opinions on your top 5 rappers and you want to challenge Jimmy to a fist fight because his list is bad, then feel free to do so. Just come out to Brick House Lounge, enjoy us. No, okay, no fist fights in the club. It's all right. It's okay. It's okay.
They got new chairs.
You can stare at him real mean about his list then. But come out, enjoy us. There's a free buffet at Brick House Lounge, which means this is non-calorie food. All free food doesn't have calories, right?
Right. It's a negative caloric effect. You lose weight by eating it.
As you chew, you lose weight. So we encourage you to come out, enjoy the buffet, enjoy your time with our hosts here at High Vibe Media Marketing Group. We will see you guys next Wednesday. We will be here next Wednesday.
We'll be here.
Because we're going to have some fun once again. So tune in. This is Sports Rehab, the place where all the sports addicts go. We will see you guys next week.